Hello, and welcome to the We Are Power podcast. If this is your first time here, the We Are Power podcast is the podcast for you, your career, and your life. We release an episode every single Monday with listeners in over 60 countries worldwide, where you'll hear personal life stories, top-notch industry advice, and key leadership insight from amazing role models. As We Are Power is the umbrella brand to Northern Empowerment Awards, which celebrates hundreds of female role models and advocates every year. This is where you can hear stories from all of our awards alumni and stay up to date with everything MPW Awards and We Are Power. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Every week I get to chat with brilliant legends, and this week is no exception. Alison Lowe OBE, and on this year's 2025 Northern Empowerment Awards Powerlist. Welcome Yorkshire into the mix.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, I'm delighted you're here. You are literally someone who is that inclusive leader who lives by your values, but how on earth do you describe what you do? Because it's endless.
Yeah, I've always had more than one thing to do in my life. Whether that be a parent, whether that be a chief exec, a councillor, politician, more widely. And it's because I love it. I'm very passionate. I've got a lot of energy and I like to serve. I feel like I'm the archetypal public servant, and that's what makes me feel happy. It makes me feel satisfied, and it's good for my mental health.
And we talked about where you are in the world today, but you were forged in Leeds, East Leeds.
Absolutely. I'm a Seacroft girl, proud of my East Leeds roots, my mum's Irish heritage, and many people in East Leeds were from Ireland. They came over to help build Leeds, build the roads, the A64, etc. And many of those communities settled in East Leeds. And then my dad came from the Caribbean, from St. Kitts. So I'm a fusion of the Caribbean, Ireland and Leeds. And I think that combination has really contributed to the person that I am today.
It's the recipe, isn't it, that makes you who you are? And along the way, you've had lots of dishes, haven't you, in that recipe, and have done lots of very big, difficult roles. How have you found yourself on that adventure? Where did it all start?
So I think it all started with, first of all, having a really strong mother, a very political mother. She was a trade unionist. We had lots of political debates, arguments, and that made me interested in the idea that change was possible at that really local and grassroots level. I remember moving to Chapeltown, having two tiny children, and being really angry because the community centre next door, it was about 3 doors up, kept on playing the blues every Friday and Saturday night, had big parties. And it occurred to me that I could do something about that. And so I joined the management committee, became the chair of the management committee, and I stopped those blues. And so I could sleep and so could my kids. And so that local influence that you could have by getting involved rather than standing and carping on the sidelines, that really showed me that when you get involved, you throw yourself in, that you can make a difference and a change.
Because you can be a bystander, right? Can't you?
Oh, yeah, but who wants to be a bystander? Because bystanders are moaners, the whingers. They're those people who have always got an opinion about everything that everybody else is doing. Well, what are you doing? How are you contributing to the change that you want to see in the world?
And it resonates with me because I always talk about we focus on the things that we can do rather than finger point about all the things that you can't do. Deeds, not words.
Somebody else is doing that you don't agree with, but you're not doing anything to, live your own values. I don't have a problem if people don't like what I'm doing. But do something instead. Don't just moan about what I'm doing. Do what you believe is the right thing.
And what is making you proud right now? Because you've got a big role, haven't you? Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime for West Yorkshire Police. Just that little job. Keeping Tracy in check, quite frankly.
Yeah, Tracy and I work really well together. I love working with Tracy. She's so authentic and she's got my back. I've learned over the years that I'm not your average Joe. I'm
Thank
loud.
Goodness.
I've got ADHD. I sometimes struggle with, the filter that everybody else sees the world through. I don't always manage myself as other people do in meetings and all the rest of it, because I bring my whole self to work all the time, and that's a bit much for some people. But for Tracy, she really embraces that and recognises that my authenticity adds to the role that we're doing together. So what I'm really proud of is the partnership that we forged, the authenticity of the work that we're doing, the truth that we bring to the role of PCC. She's the PCC, but I deliver most of that function. And the relationship that we forged with West Yorkshire Police, the honest conversations about what they're doing well, but also what they could improve. Because I see myself particularly as a bridge between West Yorkshire Police and the communities of West Yorkshire. And I want to tell them straight, you think this, but this is the reality. Let's work together to change that perception, to improve performance and deliver for the people that you're here to serve, because we're all public servants.
And have you been told along your way that you need to dial down some of that authenticity, or just How do you get over that? How do you manage that?
I think it goes back to my Irish heritage mother. My mother was always dominant. She wasn't just prominent. I like to see myself as prominent. My mum was dominant. She was always on stage at working men's clubs singing. When it would open mic, she was always centre of every party, every coming together, no matter who it was. She loved herself. She loved to make people laugh. And I think that confidence that I saw in her, obviously it's given me the confidence to be myself. I've not always felt comfortable being myself. Sometimes I've thought I'm too much. There was a word that I used to long to be, which was, proportion. I wanted to be that quiet, gentle person who just dropped in those wise words from time to time. I never was that person. And I always used to think I was too much. But by being too much, by being me, I have made a lot of good things happen for a lot of people. I fought the good fight, not for me, but for other people. And if it works, then obviously it's something that I've got to embrace and I've got to keep on doing. And I've come to accept myself. I love myself now. I didn't love myself when I was younger. I've talked a lot about my childhood, the childhood trauma that I experienced, the domestic abuse that I lived with for 10 years. That does hack away at your confidence, at your self-esteem, at your belief system. But you can overcome those things, and as I like to say, Rumi, the poet and philosopher, long gone now, but he says, the wound is the place where the light enters. Without the pain, you don't get the light. Without the dark, you don't get the sunshine. So all of us learn that, we're not perfect. Bad things might happen in our lives. It's how you deal with those bad things. It's how you turn them into success and help then other people to deal with the challenges that they face. And that's what I've tried to do, use it for good.
And you talked about the trauma. You had trauma as both a child and later on as an adult. How did
I was sexually abused as a child, yeah.
And how you talked about that, and you talked powerfully about this as well. And there'll be people listening or watching today thinking, I don't know how I deal with that. I don't know how I survive this, or I don't know how I move forward. What advice would you tell your younger Alison?
You've got to come to terms with what happened. So I was very young. I was 5 years old, taken out of my garden, sexually abused by a neighbour. And because I had this big Irish Catholic family, I didn't feel able to tell about what had happened. I held it inside, and then I began to convince myself that A, it hadn't happened, and B, it didn't matter anyway. But it did matter. It did happen, and it really began to impact my mental health. In my 20s, I was very unwell. I was very distressed. It all came back, flooding back to me, and I didn't deal with it. I internalised it. I was very angry. I was always angry because I was a victim and I hadn't been able to get justice. And what I now reflect on is, in my 40s, I finally got some coaching, and I absolutely confronted that little girl that was still sat next to me. She was walking with me. I was dragging her around with me, and she didn't want to be there, but I was forcing her to be there because I'd never allowed her to go. I'd never dealt with that pain and that distress. And when I went through that horrible process in my 40s, when I was again having a major mental health episode, I was able to confront what had happened, acknowledge that I had been a victim, but I now gave myself permission to move to survivorhood, and not just being a survivor, but thriving and using that lived experience for good. So if I could use it to help other people in that same experience, then I knew that I didn't want that thing to happen to me, but it happened to me for a reason, because I could help other people by talking about what happened to me. So you've got to confront it, you've got to acknowledge what's happened, and then you've got to be open about it, because actually now I see it as my superpower. I can tell people about what happened to me, not in a feel sorry for me kind of way, but bad things happen to different people all the time. And it can be sometimes a reason, an excuse maybe for some people to not live the lives that we're supposed to live, to give up when really we should have pushed on. And I want people to know there is no excuse. People might try and bring you down in all sorts of ways. Don't let them win. You don't have to let them win. You can win no matter what happens to you in your life. You determine your destination, nobody else. The journey might have other people interrupting it from time to time, but the destination is yours to decide. So decide where you're going and get there.
And it's not easy to get. You talked about going from victimhood to survivorhood, and now you see that as a superpower. But it's not an easy, is it? It's not, you can't just go the pharmacist and get prescribed that to make that easy.
It takes time. It takes self-love. It takes openness and honesty. I've got a really lovely friendship group and a family group that I can talk to. And since I started talking about it in my mid-40s, I tell everybody now, and it is very, very therapeutic for me. It is like a talking therapy. But I've got to be really careful that it's on my terms, that I talk about this stuff when I want to talk about it, when I'm ready to talk about it. I don't let other people make it part of their story, because I've had people who have tried to label me and pigeonhole me. And, I'm not just a woman, I'm a black woman, and I'm a working class woman. And people always want to minimise your successes, label you to suit their stuff. But I say to them, that's your stuff, you keep it, thank you very much. I know who I am, and I'm going to be who I am, irrespective of what you're trying to do to me, because that's about you, it's not about me.
And how do people react to that? Because sometimes people want that. They think, oh, but you're...
Yeah. I mean, it depends on where the person is on their journey. Many people find it inspirational and think, wow, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to not allow other people's whatever it is to impact on me. I'm going to be the person I want to be. I'm going to live the life that I want to live. I'm going to be respectful of other people's views, but I'm going to move forward with the confidence that my beliefs are good enough, they're mine, and I'm going to live them. I'm going to honour them. For other people, it becomes adversarial, but I don't engage. It's not my battle, it's their battle. It's like, you want to have a fight? See you later. I don't need to engage, because you can only have a battle if two sides agree. I don't agree. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing in the world. And if other people want to have a fight, let them get on with it. You see from my social media, I get a lot of stuff. I don't engage. Let them wallow in their whatever it is, bitterness, sadness, whatever. I don't need to engage, and I won't.
And what parts, social media is interesting, isn't it? Because it can be amazingly powerful and positive to amplify and to support and convene, but it can be so toxic. Is that your advice? Just don't even throw any fuel on it. Just ignore the negativity.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I don't block anyone, but I mute lots of people. If people send me messages or say so, if they challenge me, I don't have a problem with that. I'll respond. But if people are horrible or defamatory or verging on the offensive, I just mute them. Because it's like, I don't need you in my life. But I follow all the lovely, happy people. I like all the things that make me feel good about myself. I'm constantly on social media looking for the people that connect with me and that I connect with, and the stories, because there's some beautiful things on social media. It has a huge power for good. And also, let's forget that for all that there's some negativity on social media, lots of it is bots. It's not real people. And also that real people in the main are good. Most people are good in the main. We might have misunderstandings. We might have, stories that mean that we believe certain things that are not true. And that's an opportunity to have a conversation, isn't it? To say, oh, that's an interesting perspective on the world. Let's have a conversation about that. Let me put a different mirror up. Let's have an open and honest conversation. And then that pleases me if I'm able to help somebody see the world through a slightly different lens, to be kinder to people that maybe going into the conversation they'd felt quite hostile towards. I'm all about love. That's my mantra. You're here once, you're here for a very short time, and then you're gone. Please bring love and kindness while you're here.
And that is just tremendous leadership as well, isn't it? That is, and before your roles, multiple roles, and your existing role now, you had a previous life, right? Or many previous life, but you were chief exec of Touchstone, and that's a charity. Tell us about that charity, because you grew that immensely.
Yeah. So Touchstone is a mental health charity specialising in working with diverse communities, so Black, minority ethnic communities, LGBT plus communities, refugee asylum seekers, and we really developed an expertise for working with people who came to us in all their glorious differences, and connecting them with mental health services and responses that met their needs. And we did that across the whole of West Yorkshire and parts of South Yorkshire. And I grew it from a £1 million to a £10 million charity over 17 years. We won multiple awards. We're for inclusion. We're IIP Platinum twice. Still IIP Platinum the last year I left. We were in the Stonewall Top 100 from 2013. So lots and lots of different plaudits, best companies, top 10 in best companies. And we won the Giving Back Award 5 years running. And that was about the work we did to recruit people with different lived experiences. And then the Giving Back Award, we won that 3 years running. And that was about the work we did with our communities to give back and to build resilience in those communities. So we were like a family. We were like a bit dysfunctional from time to time. But because I talked about my mental health, I talked about my childhood abuse, I talked about my domestic abuse, I talked about the things that I wasn't very good at, it meant other people could talk about their stuff. It gave permission, and everyone was open and honest, and everyone came through the door knowing that they were good enough. No matter what they'd been told by whoever in their lives, they came to Touchstone, and they weren't just tolerated, which I don't like that word. They were accepted and they were loved. And that meant people thrived. The work they did was outstanding. The connections with the communities we worked with were second to none. And the communities we worked with, they also benefited from that approach.
What is the biggest leadership lesson that you learned during that time at Touchstone? Because not only did you grow the business, you were very present and public with all of that acknowledgement, awards, not to mention all of the tremendous good work you do. But as a leader, what did you learn most?
You've got
juggling.
To live your values. Oh, absolutely. You can't have it all. That is not true. You can't have it all. You've got to live your values. So if I'm saying the policy is this or the belief system is this, then everything we do has got to speak to that value, that policy, because otherwise you're a liar. You're a hypocrite. And once you're exposed as a liar or a hypocrite, everything that you have said and done before falls. You're on a bed of sand. Never say one thing and do another. Always have harmony about what you're doing. And the way that we were able to do that, because obviously when you upper, the career ladder, you're getting further and further away from the people that you're there to serve, from your staff on the front line. Sometimes you think you're doing the right thing, but you don't understand the implications of what you're doing. So you have to have that two-way conversation constantly so that staff will feel able to say, do you really mean to do this? Because you do know that if you do that, it'll lead to X, Y, and Z. Something the Labour Party, I think, would learn very well from. You've got to have that honesty and transparency, that open door policy, that connection with all your staff. It don't matter if you're the cleaner. I've been a cleaner for Burton's. I did it well because you've got to do every job well. Or if the chief exec. We are human beings and no one is better than anybody else. So I constantly used to say to my staff, you are our last line of defence. If you do not have bravery and raise issues with us when you see that we're heading off a cliff and we're not living our values, you are the last line of defence. We need you to tell us when we're doing things wrong. So if it feels wrong, if it feels incongruous with what we're saying, I'm begging you, please don't let us make that mistake. Tell us. There's no punishment, there's no detriment, there's love and thanks that you're giving us that perspective, because at top you can't know everything. So allow yourself to be constantly learning, not just from your employees, but also from the people that you're there to serve. Because if you don't, you will make a mistake that will be counter to your stated culture and values. You won't mean to do that, but then nobody will believe you ever again.
Lifelong learning. And it strikes me that you're someone so positive, and I could sit and chat all day long, right? And you want to spotlight others and help and support others. So the moment when you got the brown envelope through, it might have been an email actually, because it was during COVID, wasn't it? When you got your recognition from Her Majesty, getting your OBE, and that was for services to mental health in diverse communities, wasn't it, for your work at Touchstone? Did you naturally think, oh, but what about everyone else? Or did you embrace it and go, you know what, actually, I'm proud of this?
I really embraced it. I was really proud of it. I had a little tear because my daddy wasn't here to see it.
Oh,
I love him and I miss him every day. But my mum was here, and I was really proud that my mum was able to see that she came from Ireland. Well, her family came from Ireland. She'd been in Holland Moor, she'd been a clippy on the buses. She'd worked in the kitchen, and her daughter was going to be honoured by the Queen. In the end, it was Prince Charles, now the King, of course. And she was really proud. And it was also about being a Black person, and thinking that it's not about being part of the establishment. It's about countering that racism and different treatment that my dad experienced, that I was creating that link between, the UK and the Windrush generation and the children who came from the Windrush generation, and that I was proof positive that our forefathers, my dad, all those people who came in the 50s and 60s, as my dad did, they did the right thing. They placed the trust in the UK, they worked hard, and they did the right thing because we're thriving. So that's what I thought.
And who did you take to the palace, or was it Windsor Castle? Where did you go?
It was Windsor Castle. It was amazing. I took my best friend of nearly 50 years, Tanya, who I went to school with, and we had a brilliant day, and I was so proud to be with her. Because it was COVID, I couldn't take anybody else, because I would have taken my mum and my sisters, but my mum was quite frail at that point and has since passed. But yeah, it was a great moment, and everybody, even the Secret Service who were searching your car for bombs, even they were happy and joyous. It was a very, very surreal experience.
And you've got such a story and such energy and positivity. It's hard to fit everything into this conversation. What do we not know about you? What's your secret little talent? Tell me you're on a unicycle. A flute?
I can play the flute. Yeah, I learned it when I was a child at school. I've still got a flute, and I've got bronchiectasis, so I'm not so good at the breathing anymore, but I have got a flute. But I think the secret thing that people will be surprised is that I'm a nana, and I love being a nana. I love my grandchildren. They bring me so much joy and happiness. And now that I'm getting to the twilight of my years, I was 60 last year, I'm really reflecting on family, the importance of family, and what next. And, I'm still working really hard with Tracy for this term and thinking about what will come after. But I have no fear, because whatever happens, I've got my beautiful little family, my little rainbow family, because both my children are gay, and both happily married and living great lives. I've got my lovely grandchildren to look forward to, and I'm really looking forward to being an nana for as much as possible when that time comes.
And if you had a superpower and also endless budget, right? And then what would you do with it? We know your superpower. You've got your superpowers, Anders, but if you had the magic wand, what?
I would feed every child. I would feed every child every day, because child poverty, something that I feel very passionately about. I come from Seacroft. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of food, but we had just enough to eat every day. And that shouldn't be a gift in the 21st century, that you're expected to have a meal every day. So I would love to feed every child in the world, but definitely in the UK, every day for every meal time. And if I could do that, I would.
And personally, what's left on that bucket list? Because you said earlier, we only go this way once, right?
So I've done lots of things. I've jumped out of an aeroplane. I've climbed the Himalayas. I've met the King. I've met the Queen. I've met Nelson Mandela. I've met lots of beautiful people. And so I don't have any burning ambition to, I need to do this, that or the other. Now I want to travel to beautiful places, often with my sister. Me and my sister go all over the place together. We just went to Jane Austen's house. It doesn't have to be in another country. And I just want to see places in the UK that I've never seen before, and maybe in Europe that I've never seen before, and just really, understand the beauty of the surroundings that I'm fortunate enough to live in. And I just want to give thanks for everything that I've got. I'm very grateful for everything that I've got. And I want to enjoy the things that I've got for as long as it is possible, because that's what peace looks like.
Wow, what a way to end. Alison, you are amazing. Can't wait to hop over to Leeds. In person, I'll be hand delivering that Powerless badge. We'll need to write out the whole afternoon, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll come to Liverpool. I love shopping in Liverpool.
Well, there we go. Liverpool won.
I love it.
This episode is brought to you by Liverpool One. They'll love that. Thank you so much. It's great to spend time with you today. Keep being amazing. Keep being awesome. And keep that energy. That energy is phenomenal. Thank you so much, Alison.
Thank you, Simil.
Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or follow us on socials. We are power_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter. Or We Are Power on LinkedIn, Facebook. And We Are _power on YouTube.